Why is that damn bot always responding to me on Twitter,
Dude,
bro?
I think that just like the United States is a bad example, and
like backlash. Were people upset about?
What you learned from that, where you are now, feedback, results. Welcome to EigenLayer Unlocked, an interactive educational journey through the EigenLayer ecosystem created by technical founders and builders for the entire crypto community. A special thank you to our partners, AltLayer, Polymer, Authentic, Skate, and Lagrange for helping to make this happen. Our goal is to raise the collective knowledge of the EigenLayer AVS ecosystem and unpack the technical designs of the top teams in space. Welcome to EigenLayer Unlocked. Gmove.
Yes.
gmove.
Gmove. Why is that damn bot always responding to me on Twitter,
Dude,
bro?
Yeah.
It's not even me. It's like this app called Move with Friends.
Yeah?
They're a Taiwanese team, and they built this app, this bot, like 4 months ago. So anytime someone says move or Gmove or movement, it automatically responds.
I'm telling you, this is airdrop alpha. Rushi can't say it, but if you say Gmove on Twitter, Jack, you're gonna get rewarded, bro. Rushi, don't say anything here, please.
Manche if I'm you, baby.
Yes, sir.
KOL.
Yeah, so wait, what's that phone then? There's like a phone that I saw you post. It was like a movement phone or something.
Yeah. So there's a team called Op Network that is doing essentially a decentralized mobile network. So one of the biggest use cases of DeepIn is coordinating devices, right? So what's the biggest device that we all have is mobile phones. So what's really interesting is that they're not only working on like wallets and native DeFi apps and movement apps built into the phone, but also each phone actually runs as a node, whether it's Light Node for verifying DA or eventually running a sequence of nodes potentially. So that it's a very interesting concept. Obviously, it's like you're competing with Apple and Samsung, the bigger players, but they already sold $5 million worth of phones. So like I think there's a lot of demand. I would say even like where we are right now, like Southeast Asia, where people are using crypto apps for airdrop farming or other use cases. And look at Solana Saga, right? Like that phone sold out because people were like, okay, I buy this phone, I will get rewards X, Y, and Z. But I think like because we're still inevitably launching, there's a lot of opportunity for people, for especially this region, to use the crypto ecosystem and eventually a moving ecosystem.
Especially like in Singapore, right, where we're at, it's interesting because you don't have to have like, it's not like the US, right, which is a bazillion square miles. Like if it's dependent on physical location, like it could be a lot more deeper penetration.
Yeah, I mean, Gus just tweeted about this yesterday. Like, if you use Grab today, like you can put USDC and pay for everything in USDC.
Wait, on Grab?
Yeah,
I saw that.
On the app
crypto
today?
wallet.
Yeah,
like,
today,
you can pay for wallet.
Yeah.
You can pay. No, you can pay for Ubers. Like pretty much anything with USDC. Is it Ethereum and Solana?
Like it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Like
it's crazy, right? So
pay,
it's like and like. Because I'm from the States and like no one like use crypto per se because we have financial systems that work. Yeah. You go to Argentina, 1/3 of Argentina uses crypto, right? Yeah. You can talk about Latin America and this what we talked about before, but like Latin America, Southeast Asia, where we are in Singapore, they use crypto every day. So like. And they also use Android phones. Like obviously in the States, like you use Android phones. Like you get shamed, right? Because they get green text messages.
Dude, green text?
Green. Like, I personally will never use Android. Like
dude, girl is not gonna respond to you on green text.
I wouldn't respond. If you text me the green text, I will not respond to you.
Damn, bro. Damn.
green text.
It's like if you have Android, you get green text because it's like
you guys use iMessage.
Brother.
iMessage is like the biggest thing in the US.
It's the States. It's the States.
You use WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, WhatsApp, yes.
Yeah.
WhatsApp, Telegram, two things.
Yeah. So we're like Americans. We don't do that. We use iMessage, but
it's different.
We're the problem. We're clearly like more people use WhatsApp and Telegram across the world.
Definitely.
So to that extent, like Androids are actually probably better than iPhones because the performance is better and like you can have cooler like app stores and stuff. So the real play is like mobile markets overseas.
What's interesting too to think about some of the integrations and like mentioning LATAM. I know in Colombia there are kind of payment apps that will have like the wallet section similar to Grab, and I don't think people talk about that very much. Kind of like a crypto integration leading to onboarding to crypto rails. People talk about kind of like crypto native apps and then Web 2 apps, and the kind of merger of that is an interesting recipe for onboarding.
Yeah, I think people look at it too much as let's eat the other apps and make like the next best Facebook on chain or something.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just put on chain into Facebook? You know what I'm saying? Or put the chain into the Uber, right?
Well, like for Facebook thing we tried, right? That's the whole move thesis that we'll
Wait,
get
really?
into. Yeah.
Move?
Yeah.
I've never heard of Move.
I've never heard of gmove.
Gmove.
Yeah, I think it's like it's more easier said than done, right? Getting crypto, like Facebook tried doing that.
Right,
it's like,
right,
nah,
right,
you
right.
can't do that, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, like Grab is like made from design to be like crypto native and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like lobbying in Singapore for that. So I think that just like the United States is a bad example, and like anywhere else, like people actually use stable coins and like use these things because the currencies are really bad.
Yeah.
I love the US for the record.
United States is the greatest country in the world, but I love the US. He guys got his visa. He said
congrats.
good things.
Gmove.
US government.
Dude, I want to talk about your kind of being like the face of movement.
Yeah.
Kind of, you've been tweeting a lot. You go out and publicly, rant and then like fight, Jill from Espresso about shared sequencing, and like you have strong opinions on like the way blockchain should be designed. Curious like how you find either just like the time in your schedule or just kind of your routine that allows you, and any advice that you have for other founders as far as like how to have an opinion on Twitter, how to kind of grow this community, and what it means to be a leader of the movement community.
I think the best analogy is crypto is like politics, where each chain ecosystem is a country, right? And the founder and the face is a politician fundamentally.
I don't like the country example at all. Just
so that's fine. That's fine. I'll fight you on this.
But this is why
this is my job to like fight you on this and tell you that you're wrong.
Yes.
But anyways, like my job is to like obviously have a community to take it all up and like deliver for my community, but also prove why my country's the best, and why every other country sucks. So that's why on Twitter or like on social brands, a lot of the founders that you look across the board, like totally still like for the last 5 years has been fighting Ethereum every day, even in the depths of the bear market when Solana was at $7, when Solana was like ripping, same arguments of like high throughput monolithic environments. So I think today like that's what every founder model is, where like whether it's yourself as leader as well as your team, you're all fighting for your thesis, and you have to wake up every day and like even schedule. Like I'm just like, okay, anytime a thought comes into my head, I try to tweet it, just like put out a thought. And anytime I see something stupid in Twitter that I disagree with, I will go at it. Obviously, there's things how to do. Like I don't like being inflammatory, where it's like you are wrong, screw you, mine better than you.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have like open forum discussion. So like with Espresso and shared sequencing, I was like, Espresso is one of the best research groups in crypto. Hotshot's amazing. Like I have deep respect for Jill and the Espresso team, but I disagree with the go-to-market shared sequencers.
Yeah.
So I think as like when I'm bringing up on Twitter, I'd be like, look, I like the tech, I think I like the team. Here's where I disagree with the go-to-market. And I think most people generally agree with me in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the thing that I've respected the most about your character is that you're very young, so you know that you have a lot to learn.
Yep.
But when you are either like proven wrong or there's a counter argument that has validity, you take it, understand it, accept it, and then like either apply some advice or just generally like understand where there's an other side of the opinion, which I think is going to serve you well.
Yeah, I mean, it's having like we did some like roll-up stuff and like people were like it's a side chain, and I'm like,
oh, dude, you got toasted.
I got toasted by Toguro.
Dude, Toguro, I mean, dude, he threw you to shreds, man.
Yeah, I mean, like also like I don't really care about definitions. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And then Vital comes back and he's like, you should call this fast
like,
formations.
You
I'm
should care about definitions a bit, though.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, let's take back the drawing board.
Yeah.
And then we went back and called it confirmation. Like, okay, this makes sense. This is how we can redefine it. So like ultimately I'm gonna make mistakes, and like this nomenclature that I'm not a researcher, I'm not a PhD. Like there's people smarter than me, so I acknowledge that.
Yeah, for sure. So movements on testnet now.
Yep.
There's, I mean, I don't know, I've seen some numbers. There's a lot of transactions happening.
Yep.
But I also know that you went through like trials and tribulations with that.
Yep.
And maybe you felt like the launch didn't go as you wanted, or the experience for some users was kind of like iffy. Yep. I don't know, man. Just talk us through what you learned from that and kind of that process of improving it, where you are now, feedback, results.
Well, I think like most major chain testnets will go down and have issues at launch. Like the first bear testnet went down and they had to do a V2. And I think like for us as like when we launched, like we had 42 apps go live day zero. So like the biggest issue we learned was like our chain was fine, our platform was fine, but like when you have apps themselves that have their own quests and their rules, the users had issues with the apps, which then they blamed the chain for. Which I'm like, I didn't expect that to happen, because it's like if there's a DEX that has an issue, you don't blame Solana for it, right? But I think when you're launching a testnet, you're responsible for the user experience overall. So I think one thing that we can go back and do day zero better was like have better QC for all the apps they're deploying, because it's a permissionless system, right? If you build a DEX and you want to get listed on the testnet, you can do that. But like if you have like a broken front end, like I'm not gonna like verify that your front end works because it's a permissionless system. Like we have like 10 DEXs, right? But I think that's something that we should hone down better. But I think now it's like gotten to a point where it's pretty clear user experience. The main thing that we implemented after week 1 was like after every time there's a new app that submits an application, we have to review the entire front end, review all the quests. If there's like tested like 4 to 5 times, and then we also have like a select community group. So it's like around 20 community members that review every single application, and they'll be like, okay, this button doesn't work properly, or this Galaxy thing doesn't work properly. I think one thing that we also ran into issue is that we were using a questing platform, because like there's a lot of like on-chain quests and off-chain quests, and we broke the platform.
You have to go back and forth and all that stuff, yeah.
We had like, I think it was like 20 million in the first day, so that broke the actual questing platform. So when you're relying on third-party providers, it's not like we could have built that internally if you had more time. So I think like that was learning stuff to start off with, but I think it's stabilized after week 2, and now the user experience is pretty straightforward. We have pretty good quality control now.
Plus, ultimately, like testnet, right?
Yeah.
Like how mad. I mean, I don't know if you experienced like backlash. Were people upset about? I didn't see it much.
I think it's like people were like the user like they asked like about questing, because one thing when we launched, there was a lot of quests, because let's say for example it's 40 apps on testnet, each has like 5 quests, like swap or like play this game. That's 200 quests. It's not because we had 200 quests. It's just that there's so many apps on testnet that each have their own quests. So naturally, to a new user coming to Movement, they're like, Movement has 200 quests, and I was like, no, we don't have 200 quests. They have. So I think. One thing I think I did really well is that we kept listening feedback. So like I think I posted like maybe 20 times a day for like the first 2 weeks of testnet. I was like, okay, here's the feedback. Here's what we're gonna do. One of the biggest things that users had was like, obviously users are using testnet for airdrop, right? So they felt like I have to do all 200 quests, which is like slave mentality, or like they felt like that's not the best. Compared to testnets, you want like relatively low lift, right? According to retail users.
For sure.
We can argue if that's better or worse, but that's what general sentiment is. Like have a very like minimal requirement to access future incentives. Right. So one thing I did right at the gate is like you only need to do 10% of any given guild, which we call it. So that made a lot of people feel better because they don't have to do 200 quests, they do 20. So like I didn't expect there to be that many apps, honestly, or that many quests. So it's like a blessing and a curse. So I think there's always gonna be a little, like I think every major protocol has this. But I think one thing we did really well is responding like, in real time.
I can see a tattoo on your hand. It says MM. Oh, MMII. Okay. Initially I thought it was Mega Movement.
Or MetaMask?
Why would it be Mega Movement or MetaMask? Why would I get a tattooed on that?
I mean, the first thought I had was like Mega Movement.
The future of EigenLayer, ladies and gentlemen, right here.
Yeah, future of EigenLayer.
And also, I would not get MetaMask tattooed on it. Like, Phantom. Ravi.
Actually, now that I see it, there's MM Movement.
No, it's MMII 2002.
Oh.
Yeah. My question for you guys though is, how are you going to get a wallet to work on, like how am I going to go from like my typical experience on EVM to interacting with Move on the MoveVM?
Yeah, so we have a Move EVM, so it's an EVM compatible interpreter on the MoveVM, so you can use MetaMask on Testnet right now.
Okay.
You can MetaMask as well as our native wallets.
And then on mainnet as well?
Yep.
And then what about like some of these account abstraction focused wallet? It doesn't really matter.
Like Particle?
Particle or One Balance or Near, whatever. Right?
I think we're talking a Particle integration right now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a custom build because it's like a Move EVM, so it takes some time for that. But
and then what about interop? That's another big concern of mine is like it's a lift to go from EVM to different VM. How are you guys going to tackle
We'll
that?
have layer 0 off the bat. We're announcing that shortly, as well as like IBC via Union. So that's exciting. But I think what's interesting with interop is within the ecosystem itself. That's the point of shared sequencer. The biggest issue with rollups today is like, yes, you can argue that one big rollup is going to win, but the issue is that everyone wants to be a big rollup. You have like Base, you have like Arbiter Optimism, and you have a bunch of these new rollups coming to market. Yeah. So the future is going to be multi-rollup, multi-chain. So how do you get an atomic interop between rollups? And shared sequencing was designed to do that, where let's say, for example, I'm a yield aggregator rollup like Yearn, and I want to bring in TVL with Moving L2 as well as other L2s. Right now, I need to use like layer 0 or Wormhole, which has light clients on each one of the L2s, which is pretty slow. Instead, Layer 0 could put a light client as a shared sequencer, which is our M1,
Yep.
and then interop directly. We're also working on like staking requirements, so you can have state finality guarantees. So if I'm arbitraging your optimism, the biggest issue with rollups right now is state finality guarantees,
Right.
not transaction finality, which most sequencers are working on. So what if there's a world where I can have multi-token staking where I'm arbitraging, I'll put $1 million with ARB down, you're optimism, you put $1 million with OP down, Gotch puts $1 million with Polygon down. If anyone's lying about state, we get slashed.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the use cases of AVS design. So we're working through that now.
You mentioned like the kind of thesis you have that there won't be necessarily one winning rollup.
Yep.
What does like winning to you look like in that case?
Use cases, like apps that people use, right? I think like in terms of Ethereum, Base leading the charge here, where Base actually has consumer apps because they're trying to touch the Coinbase. But I think like most Ethereum L2s are losing the battle to Solana today because even in DeFi, Solana DeFi is a lot better than Ethereum DeFi today. It's much quicker. I mean, you can argue that Solana liquidity is less, but now like TVL and Solana is kind of reaching there, right? Maybe it might surpass in the future. So the thesis is like Solana has really really good user experience, has liquidity, has all the apps, has like the pumped up funds that people use. Retail traders are pretty much all on Solana right now, maybe a little bit on Base. So the question is, how does Ethereum win that battle pack? And the first step is user experience, where you don't have to wait 7 days for finality. You don't have to have like 10 TPS that goes down when a centralized sequencer shuts down. I think Ethereum needs to come back, and alt VMs are going to lead the future.
I'm bullish. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, man.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Jack. Josh.
Sure.
Cheers.